Rawls being seen in a gay bar is one of the strangest character details in The Wire because the show gives it almost no dramatic weight. Instead of building an entire storyline around the revelation, the show treats it almost as background information. A more conventional drama would likely turn that moment into a major source of conflict, perhaps by having another character discover it and use it as leverage, forcing Rawls into a public confrontation. The Wire does the opposite. It presents the detail, lets the audience absorb it, and then carries on as if nothing extraordinary has happened. The camera simply catches him there, sitting comfortably in a space where the audience would never expect to find him, and the story moves on. That silence is the point. The Wire usually explains people through institutions, jobs, pressure, ambition, fear, money, ego, survival. With Rawls, the show gives you one private detail that feels huge for a second, and immediately refuses to make it the key to him. So if the question is Rawls gay? The honest answer is that the show strongly implies it, but never turns it into confirmed dialogue. He is seen in a gay bar. He is not undercover. He is not there by accident. The scene is placed casually enough that the audience is meant to notice it, but quietly enough that the show is not asking you to build a whole theory around it. He may be gay, he may be bisexual, he may simply have a private life the public version of Rawls would never advertise. The cleanest answer is that Rawls is almost certainly queer-coded by that scene, and The Wire leaves the exact label alone because the label is less important than the contradiction. The contradiction is where the character becomes interesting. Rawls is one of the most aggressively institutional men in the show. He is police command in human form. He lives through hierarchy, numbers, rank, appearances, and control. When we see him in the office, he is harsh, vulgar, tactical, and almost always thinking about how an event will land politically. A murder is not just a murder to Rawls. It is a clearance problem, a press problem, a command problem, a problem that can hurt him if it lands in the wrong column. He can be competent, and sometimes he is very competent, but his competence is usually chained to self-preservation. He understands the machinery of the department better than almost anyone, and he survives because he knows where the pressure goes before it arrives. That is why the gay bar moment does not suddenly soften him. It does not reveal a wounded angel underneath the uniform. Rawls is still Rawls. He is still the man who will bury good police work if it threatens the department's image. He is still the man who can look at a crisis and immediately calculate who has to eat the blame. He is still the man who can speak to subordinates with casual cruelty because the system allows it and rewards it. His sexuality does not redeem him, explain him, or excuse him. The point is sharper than that. The show allows him to have a hidden private life without making that private life the reason for his public behavior. That matters because a weaker show would have turned it into a secret engine. It would suggest Rawls is so angry because he is closeted, or so controlling because he is ashamed, or so obsessed with masculine dominance because he is hiding something. The Wire avoids that easy psychology. Rawls does not need a secret wound to be brutal. Baltimore already gave him enough reasons to become what he is. The police department is a ladder, and Rawls is very good at climbing it. The system teaches men like him to protect numbers, protect bosses, protect the chain of command, and protect themselves. His sexuality may tell us something about what he hides, but it does not tell us everything about what he does. In that sense, the gay bar scene works almost like a test for the viewer. The moment you see Rawls there, the instinct is to reread him completely. Suddenly, every insult, every bit of macho police talk, every obscene line feels like it has a second meaning. The show knows that instinct exists, and it refuses to feed it. Rawls keeps functioning exactly as he did before. The story does not stop for him. The institution does not stop for him. His sexuality becomes one more private fact inside a city full of private facts, and the city barely cares unless that fact can be turned into leverage. That is very Wire-like. The show is full of people who are more complicated than the role they perform, but the role still controls the way they move. McNulty can be smart and self-destructive at the same time. Daniels can be principled and ambitious at the same time. Stringer can be intelligent and foolish at the same time. Omar can be feared, moral in his own code, and openly gay in a world that should, on paper, punish him for it. Rawls fits into that same logic, except the show gives him almost no emotional access. We do not get the boyfriend, the apartment, the private conversation, the lonely scene in the car. We get one glimpse, and that glimpse is enough to complicate him without inviting sympathy. The contrast with Omar is important. Omar's sexuality is public, or at least widely known enough that it becomes part of how people talk about him. Yet Omar's power is so undeniable that the street has to adjust around him. People can insult him, people can gossip, people can try to reduce him, but nobody can pretend he is weak. His reputation is built on action, and action beats slander. Rawls lives in a different world. He is not on corners with a shotgun. He is in an institution where reputation is managed through rank, speech, posture, and political cleanliness. For Omar, being gay becomes one part of a feared public identity. For Rawls, it appears to belong to a private room the badge never enters. That difference says a lot about the worlds they occupy. The street is violent and hypocritical, but it is also brutally practical. If Omar keeps robbing dealers and walking away, the label can only do so much. The police department is more polished, more official, and just as full of performance. Men like Rawls spend their days in rooms where authority is acted out through contempt. They curse, bully, posture, and compete because that is the language of command. The fact that Rawls may be gay does not make that performance fake. It makes it more interesting. He knows the performance. He knows how to speak it better than almost everyone else. He can survive in that room because he understands exactly what kind of man the room wants him to appear to be. That is where the angle comes together. Rawls's sexuality matters because The Wire is obsessed with the gap between the private person and the public function. The public function is clear. Rawls is a commander, a climber, a bureaucratic survivor. The private person is barely visible. The show gives us a flash of him outside the institution, and instead of using it to unlock his soul, it lets the gap remain. That gap feels honest. Most workplaces, especially hard masculine institutions like police departments, are full of people whose private lives do not match the role they perform in public. The Wire does not treat that as shocking. It treats the shock as something in the audience. Rawls is also a useful character for this because he is not beloved. If the show had given the gay bar moment to a more sympathetic character, the audience might read it as tenderness, vulnerability, or bravery. With Rawls, it lands differently. He is too abrasive for easy sentiment. You cannot turn him into a hero because of one private detail. You cannot flatten him into a hypocrite either, because the scene does not show him preaching morality or persecuting gay people. It simply shows that the man who embodies a very hard, very masculine version of police authority may also have a life that does not fit the image he sells at work. That is probably the cleanest meaning of it. Rawls is a man of compartments. In the office, he is rank and command. In public, he is the suit, the voice, the department's hard face. In private, he may be something else entirely. The show lets those compartments sit next to each other without forcing them into one neat explanation. That is more realistic than a speech. People are not always secretly one thing underneath everything else. Sometimes they are several things at once, and the institution only cares about the version that can be used. The scene also adds a quiet joke to the way Rawls talks. His language is full of sexual humiliation, dominance, and aggressive masculinity, like most of the police command language in the show. After the gay bar moment, that language becomes harder to hear in only one way. It does not mean every insult is secretly about his sexuality. That would be too simple. It shows how much of male institutional language is already sexual, already performative, already obsessed with domination while pretending to be practical. Rawls speaks the language of the room because that language works. Whether he is gay or not, he knows that power in that department often sounds like one man humiliating another man in front of witnesses. There is also something almost coldly fair in how The Wire handles it. The show refuses to make Rawls special because of it. He does not become the gay police commander character. He remains Rawls. His sexuality is not a storyline because real private life does not always become storyline. Sometimes people know something, suspect something, see something, and nothing happens. The city keeps moving. Cases keep getting buried. Careers keep rising. Bodies keep landing. Rawls's private life exists, and the machine does not pause to ask what it means. That machine is the real subject. Rawls's sexuality matters most because it reveals how little individual truth matters inside the structure. If the department needed to protect him, it would protect him. If the department needed to sacrifice him, it would sacrifice him. If someone could use the secret would become a weapon. Until then, it is just a private fact attached to a public official. The Wire understands that institutions do not care about hypocrisy in any moral sense. They care about exposure, usefulness, and damage control. That is why the gay bar moment feels so memorable despite being so small. It gives Rawls depth without giving him a redemption arc. It gives him a secret without turning him into a mystery. It suggests that the hard public face may be covering a private life, but it never asks the audience to confuse privacy with goodness. Rawls can be gay and still be cruel. He can be closeted and still be powerful. He can be hiding something and still be one of the people who helps the system stay exactly as rotten as it is. The answer, case in point, is that Rawls is probably gay, or at least the show deliberately wants us to understand that his sexuality is not what his public image suggests. But the larger meaning is not the label. The larger meaning is that The Wire refuses to let identity become an easy explanation. Rawls' sexuality does not solve Rawls. It complicates him for about 3 seconds, and those 3 seconds are enough. After that, he goes back to being a company man in a department built on stats, fear, pressure, and survival. The private truth sits underneath the public role, and the public role keeps